So I was at Congress recently to discuss the ongoing AI bills being discussed in Congress. And in that hearing, the discussion drifted to BPOs. And during that segment, I had this off the cuff remark.
And then finally, another risk, although probably a couple of years out pa, voice accent neutralization. That's one AI. Kumbaga, you sound Bisaya, now you sound like BGC, parang ganyan.
So obviously, uh, accents are a big part of call center operations now. That post is still trending as we speak. But I couldn't help but notice a number of people getting triggered by this remark. And it's not surprising. Accents have always been a part of Philippine subculture, regional dialects, teasing each other. But I also thought this would be an excellent opportunity to talk about an AI application that has a massive impact on call centers today. So this is Doc Ligot, and in this video, we're going to discuss voice accent neutralization. So accent neutralization is basically transforming spoken audio so that the pronunciation, the rhythm, the intonation move from a source accent to a target accent, something more intelligible. And by intelligible, we have to admit that this is always with respect to an audience. Our call centers are 70% North America, so the context will be from a US or a Canadian perspective. So in this video, I'll talk a little bit about how neutralization is done from an AI standpoint, show you some examples, and then of course, talk about the ethical questions that this technology poses. There are many approaches to accent neutralization, but the two most common architectures would be ASR TTS and speech to speech. ASR TTS means automatic speech recognition, text to speech, and it actually involves two models. So if the original source will say something, ASR will then transform that into text. This is no different from the transcription you see in online meetings, the subtitles in this video. So from the text, a second module will then transform that into a rendered speech using a pre-selected voice. Very straightforward. The pro here would be very clear separation of the content and the accent because it becomes text in the middle. It's highly intelligible. The cons, though, is because the original voice is transformed into text neutral, you really lose the identity of the speaker. And of course, no matter how accurate transcription technology has become, it's very accurate now, even the subtitling, there are still occasional errors. And those errors are crystallized when it becomes a transcript. So you can have instances where the rendered voice will say something completely different from what the original voice intended. Speech to speech is gaining a lot of popularity now, and the commercial examples I'll be showing later use this technology. This involves using neural networks and transformations to alter from a data perspective the original audio. So any spoken word in any dialect or any accent has a very distinct waveform. So any audio, even music, has a distinct waveform. And the idea there is first you try to detect, intonation from the waveform. And then with enough data samples, you'll be able to predict what the target waveform should look like. Waveform analysis has been a part of, digital signal processing and linguistics for a long time. And a big part of accent is really driven by the vowels. No? So, for example, here, the word hit and heat, bat and bet, hurt and heart, caught and caught, hood and hoot. You can see how the vowels make a very big deal in terms of the meaning. And this is something that speech to speech hopes to address. Of course, speech to speech is generally better than ASR TTS from a preservation standpoint because it's still the original audio, just transformed or mutated a bit, and it results in a more natural generation of speech. The cons, though, is to achieve this, you really need a lot of data. Basically, examples of one way of pronouncing a word and another, and of course, the best sources for that speech data is contact centers themselves. It's also harder to control explicitly the outcome because you're really not dealing with the word anymore. You're dealing with the waveform, which can be quite unpredictable. Okay, so let's show some examples. I'm not affiliated with any of these vendors, but these are two of the most famous, popular vendors in contact centers today, Crisp and Sanas. So this is a Crisp demo clip.
I turn it off now so you can hear the difference clearly. Now, I'll turn it on again.
Notice how my natural tone and personality shine through? This mode allows me to stay authentic, making every interaction more personal and effective. And for the cases where a fully accent-converted result is needed, Crisp offers the Voice Profiles mode. Let me switch to it. With this mode, my accent converts to a US English accent in real time. Multiple voice options are available. Let's check out a few.
How do you like this voice? I can even switch to a female voice if needed.
Accent conversion eliminates the need for customers to ask, "Could you repeat that?" and enhances the experience for the customers and also for me.
So you see the two examples. The first example was voice preservation. So it's still the voice of the original agent, the original voice of the agent, but then the accent was smoothened. And then the second batches were a completely different voice altogether. So Crisp is available for individuals and for companies to subscribe to. This is Sanas. So Sanas does the same thing but also combines it with noise reduction.
Some background noise. Want to confirm if you can hear it?
Yes.
Okay, so now let me turn on Sanas for you.
So there, I've just turned on Sonus, and you shouldn't be hearing the background noise anymore, but it's still playing here on my end.
See, you see that if you look closely, there's a small, almost imperceptible delay. And that's because the model has to run in real time to do inference. No? But again, if you're on a phone call and audio only, it doesn't really matter. So now that you've seen examples of this technology, it's worth asking a few questions, at least for me. First is why contact centers do this at all, and the reason is it actually helps business. So neutralization actually reduces handling time because the communication is more efficient. There's less need for clarifications, and in the long run, lowers operating costs in running calls because you're able to do more costs for the same amount of time. Another indirect improvement, which can be massive savings, is if you've ever applied for a voice job in a call center, a big part of your training is really voice, how to speak, either in a neutralized or Americanized accent. And now you're offloading all of that, lifting to the AI. You can just focus on just talking intelligibly. From a customer standpoint, call centers report higher customer satisfaction with neutral accents and accent softening tools. The vendors like Crisp and Sanas also frame this as an accessibility thing. In other words, people who might otherwise be not considered or even rejected for a role because of the accent, that's irrelevant already because the AI does the accent work for them. So it's like reducing friction in recruitment, which can be a good thing if you think about it. Now, of course, the obvious issue or the obvious question would be, is this a form of discrimination? And depending on where you sit, it can be yes or no. If you're pro technology, the argument would be it shields people from discrimination because it kind of removes any dependency on your accent. The AI will take care of that. On the other hand, the critics of this approach, uh, in a way, are saying that technologies like this are a way of reinforcing, I guess, Western standards. So yes, you won't be judged by your accent. anymore, as long as you can speak neutrally. But neutral means like an American, no? Or like a Canadian. And that kind of brings up a broader issue of cultural identity. Is this a form of whitewashing? In other words, the preference will be for people who can speak like, white people. Some scholars also describe any accent alteration as dehumanizing because, in a way, the philosophically it treats racialized or regional speech as a defect. So, if you have a very heavy Bisaya accent or even Tagalog accent, Ilocano accent, that's seen as less desirable to people who can speak like a Westerner. I think ultimately this technology raises questions about worker rights. At the end of the day, if you want to participate in the call center economy, and we know this, you have to adjust to the audience, where speaking in a Western tone is the norm. I don't know if if you don't work in call centers and you suddenly find yourself, in a place with call center workers, they might sound odd because they speak in a weird tone or weird accent. In the same way, vice versa, they people who are used to these accents will find localized accents also odd. But make no mistake, this is already the norm in call centers today. I want to end with another clip, this time from a VA who describes accent as a major driver of business for VAs.
I was just taking notes kung ano yung mga requirements niya at hindi niya requirements ang maganda ang accent. So medyo ha? So may napaisip ako, di ba? Like, how could that possibly be when most clients that I've worked with, kapag appointment setting position, ang hinahanap nila is yung maayos ang accent. And he was like, no, that's okay. There's AI for that. And I'm like, anong AI? Sumagot siya, crisp. Very casually, sabi niya, crisp. So let me share it with you. Let's say you are doing this via Zoom, ikiklik mo lang ito, pagkatapos make sure na ang pinipili mo ay crisp.
So this is how I sound like with the accent conversion of crisp.
So there you have it, voice accent neutralization. What do you think? Is it good technology, bad technology? Is it dehumanizing or is it liberating? So if you like this video, like and share it. Comment below if you have other points. I'll be providing links to all of the demo reels and some of the technical info in the description. And again, this is Doc Ligot. Stay tuned for more videos discussing other parts of the AI ecosystem.